Hey y'all, it's Victoria. Welcome back to my channel. I am giving you 80s realness with the shoulder pads. Honey, get into the look today. I actually have a video where I bought this when I went shopping to this vintage shopping market. I'll link it in the description, but loving today's look, even though today's subject is not something that's fun and upbeat. So I decided to give a look while we talk about something that's not so fun. So, for those of you that do not know, I've mentioned it in other videos that I have pre-existing health conditions. Specifically, I have uterine fibroids. Uterine fibroids are benign, meaning that they are non-cancerous tumors that are located literally anywhere in the body, but I specifically have them on my uterus, on my womb, and I also have them in my breast. So this is a long-standing, pre-existing health condition that I have had. When I was 16 years old, a high school student, I had surgery to remove fibroids from both of my breasts. And literally 2 weeks later, when I did the post-op surgery, they found more. And when I was in my early 20s, maybe about 23, 24, I was officially diagnosed with uterine fibroids. Is my opinion at the time that I was found to have fibroids in my breast. I think that I also had uterine fibroids at that same time. But because I was so young, I don't think the medical professionals that I was in the care of thought to do any sort of pelvic screening, uterus screening to see if I had fibroids on my uterus. And so it wasn't something that was officially diagnosed until I was in my 20s. But I have long suffered with extremely heavy bleeding during my monthly cycles and just abdominal pain and discomfort since I was in high school, which leads me to believe that it's something that I just had that went undiagnosed. And before I moved here to the UK in 2017, I did a whole medical workup. So I went and got dental stuff looked into. I went and got a well woman exam that included a pelvic uterine exam, and everything was fine. And this is back in 2017. And what I have always been told by the medical professionals back home is, yes, you have fibroids, you have multiple fibroids. At the time, I think I had like 6 or 7. But the advice that I was given was, because of the size and the location of the fibroids, you do not need to seek any sort of further medical interventions. Just leave it and monitor it. And then if it comes to a point where you may require surgery or some other medical intervention, we will cross that road when we get there. Now, here's where I messed up, okay? I did not monitor the fibroids once I moved to the UK. So I signed up to the GP, the doctors that they call here, and I would go to the doctor periodically if I was unwell, but I did not inform them of my pre-existing health condition. That was my bad. What I should have done once I moved here is I should have shared my medical records from back home and then let them advise me on what their advice would be, what their medical advice would be for someone who was of my age with this specific pre-existing health condition. What would be the course of action to ensure that things stay in line? I didn't do that. So what happened is, in October of 2023, I ended up being hospitalized for 2 days due to extremely low iron deficiency anemia. Like, on average, a healthy woman of childbearing age, our hemoglobin iron levels should be like around 120, 125, that area. Mine was in the low 30s, which is essentially I could have died because of how low my iron was. And I blew past all of the red flags of someone that has iron deficiency anemia. I would experience like shortness of breath, even doing like mundane things like walking down the street, or walking from the tube station to my office. Winded, okay? Winded. Like, I like to take long showers, a little bit of TMI, too much information, but I like to take long showers. At the end of a shower, I would be like, winded. Like, I would take me a minute to catch my breath. And although I knew that it was abnormal, at the time I was working two jobs. I was working a full-time job and I was working part-time at a hospital. And so I just thought like I was tired because I was working so much. And I didn't really like put two and two together that it was the uterine fibroids that was causing excessive blood loss and that it was the blood loss that was leading to wider negative impacts on my health, including the shortness of breath, the excessive lethargy, meaning I was tired all the time. Like, I like coffee anyway, but I was drinking coffee like it was going out of style just because I needed to do something. I needed to caffeinate myself in order to stay awake while I was working and while I just was just doing things throughout the day. And after I was hospitalized for 2 days in October, I received 6 units of blood, 6 blood transfusions. And even after those blood transfusions, my blood count was still below what would be considered normal. So it went from the low 30s to like the high 70s, which is still extremely low. And what the medical team at the time told me is that the way to resolve your health and improve your health is that you will require surgery to have the fibroids removed. Now, my case was marked as urgent because of how sick I was, because of how low my blood count is, and how that in turn has a wider negative implication on your wider health. And we'll discuss that in a minute. So, what the corrective action for me was surgery. So I was placed on the wait list for surgery at the NHS. So that was in October of 2023. I did not have the myomectomy, which is the name of the surgery for to have uterine fibroids removed. I did not have that surgery until March of 2024. So it took a year and a half for me to get off of the wait list in order to have that specific surgery, even though it was marked as urgent. Before that, I had been on a wait list to have a hernia repaired. Now, a hernia is, essentially it's a bulge in your abdominal pelvic region where like your intestines and a bit of fat goes through the opening, and you normally put a mesh on that area to repair it. So I had that surgery on Christmas Eve. So I've had 2 surgeries in 3 months. So your girl's been going through it. So even with that, and to be honest, yes, I needed to have the hernia repaired, but that was not the significant health issue. That was not the health issue that was causing my blood count to be so low and having a negative impact on my wider health. And so, I would have preferred to have had the myomectomy first, but whenever your name comes up on the NHS wait list, they give you 2 dates. If you're not available for the first date, they give you a second date. If you don't take the second date, then they kick you off the wait list and then you have to wait some more. Now, here is where I'm thankful in all of this. If I was still living in the US and I had to have 2 surgeries in the span of 3 months, I would be thousands and thousands and thousands, no exaggeration, of dollars out of pocket, even with health insurance. I recently did a video discussing the difference between work in the US and work in the UK, where I go into how most Americans who are able to work, they get their health insurance through their employer. So that's how I've always had health insurance, is through my employer. Even with that, I still would have been thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars out of pocket because of the way that the US healthcare system is set up. And I am grateful to be a UK resident. a permanent resident where I have access to universal health care, because I did not accumulate any debt. I did not have any out of pocket expenditures while I had these two surgeries. But I did have to wait over a year to have both of these surgeries done. So, in this video, we're going to talk about the NHS wait list, and I'm going to go a little bit into my specific health conditions, and hopefully this is informative. And if you are a woman of childbearing age, particularly a Black woman, because uterine fibroids affect Black women at a rate of 80%. So it is likely that you will suffer from uterine fibroids if you are a Black woman, or you will know someone that suffers from uterine fibroids. And it's serious. It is a serious medical condition that does not get enough discussion. And hopefully you find this enlightening and informative. Now that I'm done with the longest intro ever, let's get into the video. Okay, so first I wanted to share a clip from Channel 4 that goes into details about the NHS waitlist. This video is about a year old, so some of the figures are likely a bit outdated, and the waitlists are probably much worse now, but this is just to give you some more insight about what's going on.
Because I'm in too much pain. My day-to-day life is really hard.
Feroza's life is governed by a mountain of medication, continuous pain, and continuous waiting.
I've waited for rheumatologists to see me. I should have been seen every 8 months, and I haven't been seen in 2 years.
Feroza has multiple conditions. Treatment for all of them is delayed. She's just one of 7.5 million people in England now on a waiting list for hospital treatment, the highest number since records began. Today's headline figure is bad, but when you unpick the numbers and drill down, the details are more worrying, say health experts, because these delays are not minor. In more than 380,000 cases, patients were waiting more than a year to start their treatment. Only 59% of people started their treatment within 62 days of an urgent referral from a GP. To put that another way, if right now 100 people went to see their GP and their GP said, I am referring you urgently for treatment, 2 months from now, 41 of them would still be sat at home worrying, waiting for their treatment to start. Are there people right now dying because of delays in their treatment?
Absolutely.
Some delays cause prolonged pain. Some cause shortened lives. For cancer patients, immediacy matters.
Today's numbers are an absolute disaster.
Are you surprised by them?
No, not at all. This has been getting worse and worse and worse. Over the years, we've been shouting about it. No big surprise. But for patients, this is an absolute disaster. 4 in 10 people with cancer are not getting their treatment on time. And we know that for every 4 weeks delay in treatment, you can have an up to 10% increase in death rate. Thousands of patients are going to die unnecessarily unless we get this right. And there is no signs that it's going to get right at all.
So like outlined in that Channel 4's news clip, I am that statistic. In October 2023, when I went to the emergency room and had 6 blood transfusions, my referral for surgery was marked as urgent because of how low my hemoglobin levels were, how low my iron levels were, and because of the iron deficiency anemia, it was having a negative impact on my wider health. So my surgery was marked as urgent. I was put on the wait list for 2 surgeries, for a hernia, which I had in December 2024 on Christmas Eve. And then I had the myomectomy in March 2025. I think I might have said March 2024 earlier in the video. No, I had that surgery in March 2025. So it took over a year for me to be taken off the wait list for those 2 surgeries. And as indicated in that news clip, this is something that is luckily I was not in a situation where I don't have a life-threatening illness like cancer, but trying to manage like iron deficiency anemia and losing so much blood every month was very difficult. I'm going to do other videos in the future where I discuss how I have managed my health, because I am someone that, even though I've had surgery, 2 surgeries in 3 months, I still got to go to work, honey. Ain't nobody paying my bills but me. I got to work. I have to still continue to live my life. If you've watched some of my other videos, I still traveled during this period. I still go out and I socialize and I go to fun events. Like, life is still going to life, and I'm not going to, sit at home, boo-hooing and crying a river. I'm just someone who is always going to be an eternal optimist, and I'm going to try, instead of, being upset about the things that I cannot control, take what I can control and, try to make my situation better. And obviously, the way that the situation ultimately improved is through surgery, but I had to wait over a year, like that news clip said. Now, currently, Prime Minister Starmer is seeking ways, as all administrations here in Britain are, seeking ways in trying to improve the NHS. So we're going to take another news clip to see what he and his administration are proposing as ways to help mitigate the NHS waitlist and waitlist for treatments and surgery.
This is the end of an era for the NHS, now facing radical reorganisation. Ordered from the top.
I'm bringing management of the NHS back into democratic control by abolishing the arm's length body NHS England. That will put the NHS back at the heart of government, where it belongs.
NHS England was set up in 2012 under David Cameron. Its aim to provide the NHS independence from government.
The result, though, is this: a messy spaghetti soup of services, money and accountability. NHS England sandwiched in the middle between the government, the Department of Health and Social Care, and clinical services, hospitals, GPs, care homes, with us, the patients, at the end. And look at the red and green lines. There's overlap, duplication. And that, says the government, is dragging down efficiency.
What today is about is making sure that we deliver better value for taxpayers, generating hundreds of millions of pounds worth of savings by halving the size. And while I've been trying to build one team across the two organisations, actually just having one centre, one head office, much smaller, smarter, doing the things that only we can do nationally.
Here's part of the problem. Since NHS England began, look how much longer A&E waits have grown. The target is this yellow line, only 5% of people having to wait over 4 hours. It's not been met, though, in over a decade. Another priority is the elective waiting list. There are now 7.4 million treatments waiting to be carried out. It's the lowest since April 2023, but look how much it's grown overall, made worse by the pandemic.
Okay, so that change to NHS England was made by Keir Starmer about 3 weeks ago. Let's see if the goal of eliminating the red tape for patients who are on wait lists, like I was, to receive their surgeries, that they're not waiting for 52 weeks, a year or longer like I was. So I'm gonna end the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I don't want it to be too much longer, but I will do more videos in the future where I discuss uterine fibroids and the things that I have done to help manage my health while I was on the wait list, because like I mentioned earlier, I still work full time. Like while I was dealing with all of my health issues, I still was able to travel. I was still able to go to events and things like that. There were days where if I was feeling really sick, obviously I would stay home and, just focus on self-care and things like that. But I'm hoping that if you do have uterine fibroids, that you are under the care of a medical professional who is giving you appropriate advice. And if a myomectomy is suggested to you, like you're not waiting 52 weeks and or longer like I was in order to get better. Because when you are unwell, when you are sick, it is so like all consuming, because it takes so much energy to like try and manage your health on your own. But remain optimistic, and I am hoping that you are surrounded by love and by people who are able to pour into you like I was. Shout out to my family, shout out to my friends, shout out to my partner and his family. Because of their love and care and support, it made this extremely draining process like much more manageable, because I had people that was pouring love and positivity into me, and I can share with them when I was not feeling my best and I needed rest and respite, and they would pay and offer to pay for me to go and get massages and have spa days, and pay for me to have like Uber Eats, and just like little small things like that that just showed that they cared, that I really, really appreciate. And I hope that you are surrounded by, you know, a tribe of people that are pouring love into you like that. So I will make more videos in the future discussing how I am managing my health post myomectomy. I am still very much into the recovery. I haven't had my post-op visit yet. That's how soon after I've had the surgery I'm making this video. But definitely like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and I will see y'all next time.